Hi everybody, and welcome to kind of cooking from the pantry, pulling from the pantry. You could call it quarantine cuisine, you can call it survival cooking, but what it really is all about today is deliciousness. Not just delicious, but delicious wellness, because we're going to be putting together a dish that is going to wow you. It's going to wow your taste buds. It's going to wow everyone who even gets a little bit of a scent of it, because it's cedar plank salmon. But not just any salmon. This is Quarry salmon, and I'm so excited for you to have a chance to see it come together, learn about the incredible story behind it, and get a sense of what a delicious meal could be. This is actually all about pulling from the pantry, as I said before, but also about upcycling your meal. Forget leftovers, we're upcycling, and we're definitely upcycling the salmon, because today we're going to be doing this beautiful cedar plank salmon with roasted vegetables, this to die for smoky sun-dried tomato aioli. But tomorrow, the salmon that we cooked today that wasn't for eating today, but again, to get a little ahead of the game, is going to turn into an amazing salmon chowder. Salmon with potatoes and corn and asparagus. Amazing, creamy deliciousness. But then, wait, there's more. On Monday, we're going to take it an extra step and turn it into salmon cakes with a mango salsa. It's really salmon 3 ways, 3 days. So oftentimes when we try to get ahead of the game and cook a lot of one thing, a big pot of chili or a big platter of lasagna, we get such taste fatigue because we keep eating the same thing with the same flavors again and again and again. Well, this is going to switch it up for you, and it's going to show how to take advantage of things, again, that are shelf stable from your pantry, or things that hang out a lot, like onions and garlic, potatoes, things that you can pull from. Carrots have a really long shelf life. And I'm hoping to extend your vision of your pantry is not just dry storage, but also your freezer. Today, we're kind of in 2020. Our freezers are something that we can pull from, not just pull from for product that we're going to use in a raw, uncooked state and put it into a dish, but also after you've done the cooking to be able to pack yourself up some meals for times ahead. Let's face it. Everything in our world is kind of topsy-turvy right now. Everything in our routines have been completely taken off the rails, but we still need to eat. And the truth is, we want to eat deliciously. And now more than ever, when we're looking to put up our immune shield, we want to eat deliciously and well for our soul and well for our body. So we want to look for foods that are delicious and nutritious, and that's where Quarry salmon comes into play. Quarry Arctic is an incredible story from the beautiful north of the Arctic Circle. 3 generations of farming, but farming in this beautifully, mindfully, ethically, thoughtfully way of rearing salmon that is absolutely unlike anything I've ever seen. Omega-3s over the top, actually higher than any other farmed salmon, but actually even higher than what we would find in the wild. Beautiful fat kind of ratio. The fat that's there is a blend of omega-3s, monounsaturated fats, low and saturated fats, but it's power-packed with the very nutrients that your body needs to not only fight inflammation of the lungs, but also boost your immune system, help with your mood stabilization. Everything we need right now is kind of right here in this salmon. And I have Nicole on the Nicole cam, and thank you, Nicole, for that. Nicole will not only be getting kind of up close and personal with something like this beautiful Quarry Arctic salmon, but she's also here to take your questions. So any questions you have, anything that we can answer as we put together this cedar plank salmon with roasted vegetables, and again, that beautiful smoky sun-dried tomato aioli, we've got it going. So Nicole, you're on that right now, and I think it might be time to start cooking. We'll talk more as we go. When I talk about, again, cooking from the pantry, thinking of the freezer, there was a blog most recently posted to the Quarry Arctic blog, and that is on freezing salmon by Jennifer Bushman. And if she's watching, thank you, Jennifer, for that. If you've never frozen yourself salmon, it's a great thing to do because you can buy, when you have the opportunity to get to the store and source your salmon, you can buy more than what you need, what you can use for right now, but also put some ahead. Put some in the freezer that you can pull from. That's where that whole pantry notion comes to bear. Today, we're going to be working from a side of Quarry Arctic salmon. You can also buy it in portions that are already done for you. You can have your person behind the counter at your fish market or at your grocery store skin it for you, cut it for you, or again, bring home the side. We're going to do that today and show you just how to put it all together. What I'm going to start with, though, is not the salmon right away, although, Nicole, if you've not gotten a beautiful picture of this, it might be great to see what one of those beautiful sides looks like, plucked right from those beautiful waters of the Arctic. And again, the flesh of the salmon is so firm, the texture is amazing, and the taste, it's almost like butter. It's like salmon butter, and you're gonna find that when you get a chance to bite right into it. The first thing I wanna get into the oven, and I already have the oven set on 450 degrees. We're going in hot, people. We want that heat because we're gonna be roasting the vegetables, but then also doing the cedar plank roasting of the salmon itself. I'm starting with some potatoes, and really, the versatility of this dish is that you can use any vegetable you have on hand. So if it's potatoes, if it's carrots, if it's green beans and tomatoes as we're using today, awesome. If you need to pull green beans from the freezer, that's also awesome. If you need to use a variety of different things that might be available to you, maybe no green beans, but maybe you're fortunate enough to have some asparagus or maybe some frozen green beans, you can also pull in to roast, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. We're going to get these potatoes. These are small potatoes that have simply been halved. We're going to put them together with some carrots. These are beautiful rainbow carrots. They have also had their beautiful carrot tops cut from them, and we also have halved these. Any carrot will do. I'm in love with these rainbow carrots because I'm so in love with the color and the sweetness of these carrots. So again, when you have a chance to do them, especially buying them with the carrot tops, Nicole, if you get a chance to go back to this salmon plate, you'll see that we've used the tops. This is a no-waste kitchen. We've used the tops to actually be our garnish for the salmon itself. Classic roasting, we have the pan already in the oven, again, set at 450. Why is the pan heating with it? Because as soon as these vegetables hit the pan, it's hot, super hot. So it's already gonna begin to do its roasting and caramelization. Little touch of some olive oil with these carrots, and then I'm also adding some it's our smoky southern PS flavor, but we put in the recipe, a recipe for you to make your own version of a smoky seasoning. It's smoked paprika with onions and garlic and lemon zest, little tiny touch of sugar in the raw because it gives you that caramelization. So touch of olive oil, a little bit of that beautiful smoky seasoning. Toss those together so that you're coating them well. And then we're gonna take this pan right over to the oven. We're not yet putting the green beans or tomatoes in because those are not gonna take quite as long to cook. So I have a pan already in the oven, and classic roasting, we're gonna literally just dump those vegetables right onto it, and you hear from the Nicole cam that beautiful sizzle. Very critical because it's going to tell you that already we're starting to get some of that caramelization and roasting. It's always amazing to me when I see people, oftentimes on celebrity chef TV shows, that are doing roasting but not getting that pan hot first. It's just a really great way to hasten it all together. So those are in, we're letting them kind of work their magic. And next we're gonna kind of turn to our star. I'm gonna be marinating this slightly, and the marination is going to give us just a little bit of the ability to start putting some flavor in. But first, we have a question.
We do have a question. We have a question from Glen Ellen, Illinois, wondering where can we get this amazing salmon we keep hearing about?
Oh, it's awesome. Right now, we are so blessed that Whole Foods is the absolute place to go to be able to get this Kourei salmon. More and more, Kourei salmon has just landed on our shores of the U.S. Starting February 1st, and Whole Foods was the one that welcomed it in, and in Illinois, particularly Chicago, again, you have all of the opportunity to go. And again, you're looking for Kourei. You might not see it actually on the branding itself, but you can ask, and if it's Whole Foods and it's in New York or in Boston or in the Maryland, D.C. area, Chicago, it's going to be Kourei.
Yes. Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely, great question. Okay, so first off, we're gonna do this little marinade, and it's a really simple mustard marinade. I already have 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard in. I'm gonna splash it with just a little bit of soy sauce. This is a tamari, which is a lower sodium, gluten-free soy sauce, and a tablespoon of malt vinegar. The thing that's interesting about this marinade is that each part of it is doing a function. You're getting salinity. I'm not using any extra salt in this because you're getting the salinity from the tamari, from the soy sauce. You're getting the acidity coming from the malt vinegar. And then the mustard is just like, again, God's provision of a beautiful emulsifier. It gives a little bit of tanginess, it gives spice. Again, a perfect marinade that we're going to put into this pan. And then we're going to use it to do just a little basting. This is really a basting sauce. And quite honestly, it's delicious on this, but it's also delicious on pork chops. It's amazing on chicken. Can use it for a variety of things. But today, our star is our salmon. So cedar planks are something that give you just so much versatility. Have been using these in a variety of ways. You can buy these from any grocery store, and you can order them online for that teeny small retailer. I think it's called Amazon. You can get it in a variety of ways, but I go for a larger board, not just a small plank, because I'm wanting to not only use it for actually cooking the salmon, but I'm also wanting to use it for serving. So that beautiful plate that you might have seen right at the get-go is the perfect example of that. I'm putting the vegetables, putting all of the accoutrements right on the board itself. So it becomes a cooking vessel, but it also becomes a serving vessel. Now, again, I did get a side of salmon today because I'm wanting to use it not just today, but also use it tomorrow and also use it on Monday. So I wanted to have lots available. This is skinned. Again, I've already taken the skin off. I wouldn't do that if I was pan searing or if I was grilling the salmon, but because of the cedar plank, I really want that skin off so that we're getting that beautiful flavor that's going to come from the plank itself. And speaking of the plank, one thing that we're also wanting to do is oil the plank. We've soaked these overnight, as your recipe will say, but a little bit of oil, walnut oil or an olive oil as we're using today, just to be able to, again, soak into that wood and give a little bit of a sizzle factor that goes with it. You can see just a quick, easy rub, same way it would be if you were rubbing oil onto your cutting board. Once that's ready to go, we're going to think about what size we want this salmon to be based on what size your cedar plank is. So I've got it, and Nicole, I don't know if you have it on, but kind of using that to kind of be your measure. So it tells me that I'm going to be wanting to cut the salmon probably right about here, because that is going to then be perfect to place right onto my board. Then I want to continue by cutting, and the easiest way to do that is to kind of let my knife be the guide. You can see that that tells me that that's about where I'm going to be wanting to cut the salmon. So I'm using my knife as kind of my measurement. Same thing, putting it here, and that tells me exactly where to cut. We're always a little concerned about where those cuts should go, but these are making just some beautiful, beautiful fillets. There you go. So I'm gonna take this first and literally put it right into this beautiful mustard marinade. I'm just gonna cover it with the mustard marinade. It's gonna be plenty to use for both this nice piece, that's gonna be the large one, but then also the small ones as well. And then that is gonna go right onto this beautiful salmon plank. I'm gonna do my little antibacterial work on my hands, which we're all becoming really good at doing these days. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with a Creole seasoning. I, of course, am using our PS Flavor Creole Kitchen, but Creole seasonings are widely available from a variety of sources. The Creole just gives more than a little bit of spice. It gives a little bit of smokiness. There's a little smoked paprika that's in it, a smoked paprika that is really going to be a beautiful complement to the smokiness that we find in our smoky seasoning that is on our vegetables. So once this is done, we're going to want to get this right into the oven as well. And we want to be able to do that, again, under ideal situations. We've got our vegetables roasting right here.
We had 2 people say that they are hoping to come out of this feeling confident about roasting vegetables.
I think they will. I like to put the salmon right onto the sheet tray itself because it just provides just a little bit of a balance that's there, which works out beautifully. We're going to get that in, we're going to get that roasting, and then we're going to go into our green beans because our green beans are next up. Now, if you're doing the small pieces of salmon, what we want to do is same thing. We want to get it right into that mustard marinade and then get it onto our board that we have not only soaked but also have oiled, and put this right onto the platter. You can do each one having its own, or you could put several pieces on all together. Again, sprinkling it with our Creole seasoning, and then right in. So we have 2 people that are excited about learning how to do cedar plank.
Cedar plank and roasting vegetables.
Okay, so both off together. Perfect. Okay, in we go. So next up, we're going to let this fellow kind of sit and rest for us for just a little while. I'll be roasting that later because I'm wanting to again use it for what will come next, which is our salmon chowder tomorrow and the salmon cakes that will be coming after that. Any other questions right now, Nicole?
We do have a question. Stephanie in Orlando is wondering, should we let the oil soak into the plank for a certain amount of time before putting the salmon on it?
What a great question. No, not at all. When you're rubbing it in, you're rubbing it enough into the little open pores, if you will, of the wood that there's really no need to do that. Remember, it's been soaking, so already it's swelled just a bit with that moisture. So just a nice even rub and you've got it great. Perfect question. We also want to work on getting our green beans in the oven, and then we also want to work on making this beautiful smoky sun-dried tomato aioli. You might wonder why I have a Ziploc bag here. I have it because I've blanched the green beans first. Now, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can boil water, immerse those green beans in the water, straight out of the water after 30 seconds into an ice bath. What that does is it preserves that beautiful green color. Or you can take the shortcut, which I did today, put them into a food-proof Ziploc bag and just a little touch of water, microwave them for 3 minutes. And with that, you've already done the blanching, you've par cooked them just a bit, and that's what's going to enable it to cook so quickly for you. I'm going to add tomatoes to this. And again, this is kind of a roasted vegetable du jour. It's really whatever you might happen to have or not have in your pantry. If it's nothing more than carrots and potatoes, if it's nothing more than potatoes with some onions and some red peppers. Speaking of onions, I have found these beautiful spring onions at the store, which I'm absolutely in love with. I cut this one in half, and if you've not done that before, it's one of the easiest things to do. Literally, just starting at this root end, take just a little slice of that, and then turn it and take your knife through the rest of it. And what you're doing is exposing all of that deliciousness and goodness. Same principle here, a little touch of olive oil. We're going to be adding a little bit of that smoky seasoning to this as well. Do a quick toss of them. And then we're going to add them right to the oven where the potatoes and the carrots and the salmon are already doing the roasting. We've got some deliciousness going on
Oh,
here.
it smells so good too. If anyone's cooking this at home, I know that you're already experiencing that. If you're not cooking it at home, just imagine cedar with roasted vegetables, that Creole seasoning, that smokiness. It's all just spot on.
Yeah, and really, really, really delicious. So you can see just the color itself is enough to kind of celebrate in and of itself, and absolutely love that.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And at a certain point, when you come to a pause, we have a really great question from Jennifer, wondering if you could tell us about farming methods. She's always heard that she should eat only wild salmon, and just wondered, what should we really be doing here?
Well, it's probably my favorite question, and it's one that doesn't just come from the home cook, but it's one that comes from professional chefs. Because unlike, or just like Jennifer has heard, we should only eat wild, that is almost a mindset that people have. I could not be further from that. Throughout the last decade, I really have come to not only embrace, but celebrate ethical aquaculture, that's been done mindfully, thoughtfully, like quarrying. Again, I already mentioned these beautiful Arctic waters, but oh, there's so much more. We hear that farm fish are fed all kinds of antibiotics and hormones and horrific fish feed. Well, again, nothing could be further from that with quarry. As I said, 3 generations of farming, and they are committed to the very best health of the salmon. They're feeding the fish. What makes it so high in omega-3s is a beautiful algae. It's a microalgae, the same thing that the small little feeder fish would normally eat from the bottom of the sea. They are being fed this beautiful, beautiful diet that gives them, again, such a high omega-3 level. No need for antibiotics, because they have these incredible little lumperfish that work to eat the sea lice off of the fish. Again, our fish farmers learned from their grandfathers that back in the day, even wild salmon was observed to go through some beautiful beds, and in the process of doing that, these kelp beds contain these little lumperfish, and they would go through to be nature's car wash. It literally eats the sea lice right off of it, so no need for antibiotics. It's clean, it's pristine, it's green. It's really the salmon I've been looking for, because we can't continue to rely on wild salmon. We can't continue to deplete the oceans of wild salmon. We need to have another answer, and as a nutritionist and chef, so critical for me to find an answer that is, again, mindfully, thoughtfully raised, nutritionally sound, and really be delicious, something that I can stand for. So great question, Jennifer, and I think a lot of other people have the same one. I'm gonna step over and just check on the salmon. It generally will roast for you on a cedar plank in about 9 minutes or so. I'm going to give it just a little bit longer to go, and the vegetables are starting to caramelize, which is perfect timing to talk about this beautiful blend of this aioli. I've used sun-dried tomatoes, and I've just simply put sun-dried tomatoes with your mayonnaise of choice, either an olive oil mayonnaise or an avocado mayonnaise, with a little bit of that same smoky seasoning that the recipe has been provided for you that we used on the vegetables, and just a little bit of lemon. You put that all together in a food processor, which I'm not going to do. You all know how to use that food processor. It's quite noisy. And what you end up with is something that you're going to want to put on everything. You're going to want to put this on grilled cheese sandwiches. You're going to want to put this on egg sandwiches. You're going to use a little smear of it to put at the bottom of your plate to serve the salmon with. You can make a beautiful salmon salad, or even if you're doing a smoked salmon with bagels. This is just an incredible blending to go right with that. So love this. Yes, question.
Well, we have another question. Trish in Orlando says that cooking fish at home can sometimes be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know when the fish is done? And I would go on to say, and not overdone, and certainly not underdone. So how do we know when it's just right?
Well, you saw when I went over to the oven that I did a little bit of a touch test, because what I'm wanting to do is have the salmon spring back to touch. If it stays depressed, that's a sign that it still is a little bit undercooked. Again, I don't like to have salmon overcooked, as you said, but I do like to have it, the color kind of change throughout. And this is telling me that it's kind of right of its best. If I also wanted to check it to know exactly, and it's what I would encourage Trish to do, is to use a digital thermometer. That digital thermometer is a way for you to check it. I usually take the salmon out when it's about 130, 135. There's going to be carryover cooking. It'll continue to cook on the cedar plank, and so that's going to put it just about at its perfect place.
Wonderful, thank you. We have another question.
Yes.
Annette is wondering, you talked a little bit about the omega-3s. How much is the right amount that we should intake on a daily or weekly basis?
Oh, great question too. The American Heart Association recommends that we take in, to get our omega-3 content, that we take in about 4 ounces of a cold water fish like salmon twice a week. So just 8 ounces to get that omega-3 level. If you're treating heart disease or trying to really improve 1,000 milligrams, which is 1 gram of omega-3, well, we've already have said that Poirier has 2 grams in just a 3-ounce serving. So you can see there's no need to take a supplement. It's instead just eat a delicious fish and do it in a really delicious way, such as this. So again, it's a perfect way to get it. Nowadays, we're also so focused, as we always should be, on our immune system. The other thing that salmon naturally has, one of the few sources from food, a place that you can get vitamin D. And you also find that in salmon. It's in very few food sources. It's in salmon, it's in mushrooms, it's fortified. And you're getting it naturally from this beautiful fish.
Amazing.
So out we come, and wow, what a dish that we have. Not only the one with the roasted vegetables, but this, you can actually see that beautiful firmness and the intensity of that color.
Let's see that. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So great indeed, right? So, as we're getting ready to say our goodbyes, I'm going to get this plated again, but also talk a little bit about what we have ahead. I've mentioned it already that we're wanting to really show 3 ways of salmon in 3 days. So tomorrow, I'm going to take the extra of the salmon that's not consumed today, put it together in a delicious salmon chowder, and then again, the next day, we're going to be doing salmon cake. So if you can join us, we're going to be together tomorrow again, Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And then Monday, we'll be together at 6 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, and another question.
I hope everyone can join us for those. For this meal, Craig in California is wondering, which wine would you recommend pairing with this delicious cedar plank roasted salmon?
Well, Craig must know that I am quite the wine drinker if he asked that question, and right now I'm having one that I would love to. Salmon's an interesting one because I actually love both a delicious white wine, as I have here, but also love Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is delicious with salmon. The roasted vegetables, the aioli can kind of take it some different ways because there's a hint of lemon that is in the smokiness and in that aioli. I went with a Chardonnay, and this is a Mer Soleil Chardonnay that I'm drinking, an unoaked Mer Soleil, although the oakiness could work with this because we've got the cedar plank. But again, it just gives that perfect complement to the deliciousness, enough acidity, both in the Chardonnay and in the Pinot Noir, that it cuts through some of the richness, the deliciousness that's in the salmon itself. Yes.
We have another question. This is from Kate in Georgia. She was wondering, how long and often can you use a cedar plank and have it still add the flavor to the salmon, or is it a one-time shot?
So in the restaurants, it's a one-time shot because of food safety. We only do it one time. At home, you can certainly use all of the plethora of antibacterials that we have available now. Rub it down just like you would your cutting board. But again, for the most part, you consider the cedar plank a one-stop shop.
All right, thank you. If there are any questions, now is the time. You can also write us later, and all of the recipes are on the Quarry Arctic Salmon Facebook page. Just go there. There's a front and back of each recipe for the one today, the salmon chowder tomorrow, and the salmon cakes on Monday.
How about that? And here we have our delicious Quarry Arctic with roasted vegetables and a smoky sun-dried tomato aioli. Bon appetit, enjoy, and have a delicious glass of wine right with us. Thank you for joining. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks, Nicole. Bye-bye.